My pleasure to introduce April from Missouri on Missouri Swims web-based program. April?
Okay, good morning. Like you said, my name is April, and I'm going to provide you with an overview of our MOSWIMS program. MOSWIMS stands for Missouri Soil and Water Information Management System. It is a web-based system that we implemented in 2009. And we're not there we go. Now we're advancing. MOSWIMS is used by all 114 soil and water conservation districts in Missouri and by our soil and water conservation program staff. It streamlines our cost share procedures statewide by automating our cost share forms and the cost share process. It allows us to allocate and track the status of cost share funding by project and interfaces with 2 other state of Missouri systems and generates financial and management reports. So it does a lot of the things we need it to do. MOSWIMS is a very important part of our cost share process. It allows us to set up master cost share components and practices at the state level to be used by all of our districts and generates our forms. This results in consistent administration of our program across the state. When we developed MOSWIMS, we spent a lot of time on workflow diagrams and trying to make this very seamless and user-friendly to all of our conservation districts. Security was also another very important piece, as well as we really needed to have real-time data. So when they enter it, we can see it on our end. Okay, if we look at our cost share components, this is our master component setup screen at the state level. We currently have over 450 active components entered. This example is shown for interseed legumes, and you can see on the screen the required information entered for each component. This is a screenshot of our master practice setup screen. We currently have 50 conservation practices that are available for cost share. A lot of our practices have to qualify based on erosion values. So as you can see in the middle part of the screen, this practice requires that the pre-install sheet and reel erosion be greater than post-install and greater than tolerable soil loss. Since this practice does not qualify on gully erosion, those fields have been set to inactive for this practice, and then they will not appear on the contract entry screen for our users. If the numbers they enter on their contracts do not meet the set erosion requirements, an error message appears in MOSWIMS and will stop progress on the contract. We have a lot of built-in functionality like that in MOSWIMS where certain data has to be entered before they can advance. Also at the bottom of the screen, we have the ability to enter qualifying criteria questions that are required for each practice. These serve as a reminder of specific practice policies for the users. So once a practice is set up, we can associate the components that are appropriate for cost share to each practice. These are the only components that our users will see. This screenshot shows the components associated to our permanent vegetative cover improvement practice. Districts have the ability to inactivate components that are available, and they can cost share on a component at a lesser price, but they cannot exceed our commission maximum cost entered for each component. We spent a lot of time on our components. It took a lot of effort with NRCS and our staff to determine what components are appropriate for each of our practices, but it has made the process very consistent and a lot easier for our districts for utilization. Similarly, in the commission cost that's established, all of our district staff are encouraged to submit actual cost data from receipts into a database, and that is how we establish these commission costs in partnership also with NRCS and the Farm Service Agency staff. Okay, there are 3 main cost share forms that we use, and they are the contract, change order, and contract payment. When a cooperator decides they want to do a cost share practice and it's been determined they are eligible, a contract is entered into our system. This slide kind of shows you the general information that is entered for each contract. They will enter the cooperator name and address, the technician at the district level that's assigned to it, the practice, farm, tract, section, township, range, all those kind of things. Once the general information is entered, they can then go to the plan components available for the practice and enter approved extents for the components that are needed. The approved extents are determined by planning documents such as seeding sheets, and in this example, a soil test would be used. Once all the required information is entered for the contract, they submit the contract for review by our staff. Automatically, they click a Submit Contract button, and it appears in our work queue for their coordinator that's assigned to their county. And we do a very quick review to make sure that the contract would meet our commission's policy. Another feature of MoSWIMS that we really like is we have the ability to turn off contract review for individual practices. This allows us to reward districts that are doing a very good technical job and have went a long period of time with no issues or questions on the contracts they're submitting. Okay, once we approve the contract, the district can then print it out for signature by the cooperator, technician, and a board member. On this screenshot, you can see page 1 of our contract. It has to be initialed and dated by the cooperator, and it has information that the cooperator has to agree to, such as accepting direct deposit payments, acknowledging they will receive a 1099-M form, and notifying them of the maintenance requirements of our practice. Page 2 of the contract shows the components that are approved for the contract and the funding amount of it. The contract is required to be signed. Whoa, we're not sure. I'm losing control here. Ray, can you help me?
Yeah, let me come back into it here.
Do you know what happened there?
No, not sure. All right, let me get to you were there, and how about here?
I'll go back one more.
Okay.
All right.
There you go.
Oh, okay, almost there. Not sure.
All right.
Okay, so let me see. Okay, page 2, as you can see, shows there's a cost share amount of $1,095.94 that the cooperator will receive if they complete everything they're approved for. Do you know what's happening, Ray?
Not sure, no. But go ahead, try it now.
Okay. Let me try to advance the slide. Sorry, I'm not sure. When I try to advance, it seems to be zooming in. There we go.
How about now? Okay.
So yeah, let's try this again. Once a contract is board approved, if modifications need to be made to it, the districts have to complete a change order. They may need to do a change order to extend the termination date, to do a design change, perhaps change the cooperator being paid, or to make administrative corrections. Once the practice is completed, the district will do a contract payment. The district will go in and enter the completed extent of each component, the extent installed, and other general information. This slide shows you page 1 of the contract payment that everyone has to sign. And page 2 of the contract payment shows the component extents that were originally approved on the contract, the extents that were completed, and in this case you can see that the landowner completed the extents of the components he was approved for, so the payment amount stayed the same. If the landowner would have completed a lesser amount than he was approved of for one or more components, his payment would have been reduced. And if he would have completed more than he was initially approved for, he would still receive the payment of $1,095.94. This is because we pay on the minimum and necessary amount to address the conservation problem. There are a lot of formulas built into MOSWIMS like this that automatically calculate it and make it easy for the district to administer. Okay. It is not wanting to advance again.
Okay.
Maybe.
There you are.
Okay. Once the contract payment is signed by all parties and appropriate documents have been uploaded, they'll submit the contract payment for review again by our staff. We're going to review the contract payment to make sure it was completed in accordance with policy and accurate information has been entered. You may have to advance for me again. It's not.
All right. Can do.
Okay. When we were developing MOSWIMS, we wanted it to interface with other systems in order to maximize its efficiency. This took a lot of work, but has definitely been worth it. The interfaces have saved us a lot of staff time and money, and has prevented a lot of data entry errors from keying information into multiple computer systems. It has also allowed us to do direct deposit payments to landowners, and it has reduced our payment time. The two systems that MOSWIMS interfaces with are the Statewide Advantage from Missouri, or SAM2, and the Enterprise Content Manager, or ECM. SAM2 is our state financial management system. The interface with this system automatically transfers information from MOSWIMS that is needed for payment to the SAM2 system, and then once payment is made, detailed payment information is transferred back into MOSWIMS for viewing. At the very bottom of this screenshot, you can see the payment grid and the information that is returned. This is very helpful in MOSWIMS because not even our staff have access to the SAM2 environment. So if a landowner calls a district and says they didn't think they received their payment, the district users can look in this grid of MOSWIMS and see that payment date and the amount of the payment. That way the landowner can check with their bank, and it saves a lot of phone calls on the district's half and also on our staff. The other system we interface with is our Enterprise Content Manager. This automatically transfers documents that are uploaded in MOSWIMS to ECM. This allows us to meet our document retention requirements effortlessly and has allowed us to go paperless. Before this, we had to keep paper copies on file here in our building or off-site in a storage facility. This slide shows the type of documents that we require to be attached to MOSWIMS before it's submitted for payment. They have to have a landowner operator authorization form, the contract payment, and a map. These are all attached as PDF documents and are included in our review for payment. MOSWIMS also has the ability to track the status of cost share funding by project. At the state level, we allocate funds to one of 7 resource concerns that you can see on the screen. All of our 50 practices are assigned to one of these resource concerns. We also have the ability to add a resource concern if we go through a drought or if there are special projects. We can also add separate funding resource concerns. This example shows you the grazing management resource concern and the practices associated to it. If a district receives an allocation for grazing management, they can use that funding for any of the practices that you see here. So the beauty of this is it allows our commission to prioritize how they want their cost share funding to be spent, so they can divide it out by percentages or however they want between these 7 resource concerns as far as what practices get put on the ground. Okay, the third piece I'd like to talk about is our reporting features. MOSWIMS has the ability to generate various financial and management reports statewide for our cost share program. We have a lot of canned reports within the program for the districts and our program office staff to use. We also have a MOSWIMS reportal, which gives us the ability to develop customized queries for information requests that we receive on a routine basis. And the reports through the portal can be exported out to Excel. So let's just go through a couple examples. This is probably our most used report. It is our Master Fund Status Report. It shows us the funds that have been allocated, and allocated means that's what we have loaded and is available for use by the districts. It shows us the funds obligated. Funds are obligated when the board members approve the contract. It shows us payment amount and pending amounts. We use this at the state level as a management tool to make our financial decisions, and it can also be ran for just one district to be used at their district board meetings to show their local board the status of their cost share funds. This is a similar report, but it's just at a higher level. It's showing the summary of cost share funds by resource concern. We are very lucky that we are funded by the Parks and Soils and Water Sales Tax. As you can see at the bottom of this report, right now we currently have over $62 million allocated to our districts, and they have contracts amounting to $43.5 million. So we are currently handling about 10,500 contracts, and we've paid out about $17 million. The beauty of MoSWIMS also is that we were able to lock our resource concerns to stop them from doing new contracts when it looks like we're going to exceed what our budget appropriation is, and then we can monitor that and then click a button and they can continue to do new contracts again. So this gives us a lot of flexibility in administration of the program. Okay, can you advance me, Ray? I'm unable to advance again.
You bet. Hang on. There you go.
Okay. This is our state practice totals report. We get requests for information for this kind of data from some of our partner agencies. This report has been run for fiscal year 18 and shows a summary of data for the practices completed in that fiscal year. And as you can see, it will return the number of practices, cost share dollars, also captures information on tons of soil saved and things like that. The last example I want to show you is our HUC practice detail report. This gives us a detailed listing of evaluation data used by our practices completed in either an 8 or 12-digit HUC code. We get a lot of requests for HUC reports from our 319 program and the other water protection programs in our DNR agency here. So just in closing, I would like to let you know we do have a time accounting piece in MoSWIMS, and currently we have a team that's developing a financial tracking piece for personnel, management, and administrative grants so that we can really capture all of our reporting within the MoSWIMS system. And with that, that's all I have.